Hello students, the topic of today's discussion will be menstrual cycle. This topic is a part of the chapter human reproduction. Now let us recollect our memories of what we have already studied in this chapter. So what we have already studied or what you would have already studied in this chapter is first of all you must have studied about the reproductive events. The reproductive events involve gametogenesis, then insemination is followed by fertilization, zygote formation, then blastocyst or embryo formation, and then the implantation of the embryo, followed by its development, that is gestation, and finally ending with the parturition or the delivery of the baby. Then you must have studied about reproductive system. So different reproductive system like male reproductive system and female reproductive system involving primary sex organs in male and secondary sex organ in female. In males, the primary sex organ, as you know, is testis, which is responsible for the formation of sperms, and in female, as you know, is ovary, which is responsible for the formation of ova or the egg. Okay. Then you must have studied about gametogenesis, which is the formation of gametes. Formation of gametes. In this, you must have studied about spermatogenesis, which is the formation or production of sperms, and oogenesis, which is the production of ovum. In this topic also, you must have studied about different follicles like the primordial follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, and the Graafian follicle. If you haven't studied about these, we will look on that further moving on to our topic. Okay, so now let us begin our topic, which is the menstrual cycle. Now, as the name suggests, this is representing a cycle. Now, what is a cycle? A cycle is something that repeats after a certain duration of time, right? Uh, Similarly, the menstrual cycle, it will repeat after a duration of time. Okay. Now, what the word menstrual cycle? It comes from the word menses. It comes from the word menses, which means a month, which means a month, right? So as the name suggests, this cycle will repeat in the time range of around a month. So in 1 month it will occur, then next month it will occur again. So this is the cycle duration in almost all the average females. So now you understand this menstrual cycle, it occurs in, where does it occur? It occurs in female primates. So, like female body, right? Now, the definition of menstrual cycle is that it is a reproductive cycle. It is the reproductive cycle in female primates. In female primates, not all the mammals, only the primates. They represent the. They have the menstrual cycle in them, which contributes to their fertility. Very important, very important. This line is not mentioned anywhere in the book or in the NCRT, but this line, this contributes to their fertility. This has to be understood very well. So if a female primate, for example, if a female human, like a female human don't have doesn't show menstrual cycle in her, it represents that she is not fertile. She won't be able to bear any baby. So this is the reason menstrual cycle is the reproductive cycle which contributes to the fertility of a woman or a female, right? Now moving on, to understand the topic better, we should be putting forward four types of questions, right? The questions should be, since it's an event, menstrual cycle is an event occurring inside the female body. So the question should be, where does this event occur? In which animals does it? So the that where could be divided into two sub questions. in which animal does it occur, and in which parts of that animal does it occur. Okay, then we can question when does it occur, like what is the time duration, and what is the when it starts in the body and when it stops in the body. Okay, and why does it occur? The main question should be why does it occur? There should be a reason for some event occurring inside the human body or the human system, right? And how does it occur? You know, the reason of how, we need to know how it proceeds. So let us just you know uh, briefly discuss about these questions. So where does it occur? As I already told you, it occurs in female primates. Now primates, for example, are the example of primates are, first of all, we humans are itself the example of primates, right? Then the example will be apes. Then the example will be apes, and another example are the monkeys. So the female human, the female apes, and the female monkeys will have menstrual cycle in them. Okay. Now, what are the organs that are involved in this menstrual cycle event? Okay. So the two organs that are mainly involved are ovary and the uterus. Okay. Now, when does it occur? So I already told you the average range, average time duration of the cycle in human females are 28 to 30 days. It can go up to 31 to 45 days also in some females, or it can go below 28 days, like 21 days. Uh, 21 days also in some female, but the average which is seen is 28 to 30 days. Now you might ask why sir, why some females are showing like 31 to 45 days and why some are showing like 21 days also. So this depends on the clinical condition of the woman. Okay. Now the main question is, why does the menstrual cycle even need to occur? So there are two main reasons why the menstrual cycle needs to occur. First is the production of fertile eggs. So fertile eggs, fertile ovum. So the menstrual cycle is responsible for the production of fertile ovum or the eggs, right? Basically, the eggs are produced in during the event of the menstrual cycles. And preparation of uterus for pregnancy. Preparation of uterus for pregnancy. So as you know, the baby which is going to develop inside the mother's womb is implanted in the uterus, and from the uterus itself it receives nourishment as well via the placenta. So the uterus needs to be prepared to carry that baby, right? It needs to thicken its wall, it needs to provide nutrition to the growing embryo. So the uterus needs to be prepared, and this is done by the menstrual cycle. Now, how does it occur? So there are basically four phases of the menstrual cycle. There are basically four phases of the menstrual cycle. The first phase is called the menstruation or the menstrual phase, or it is also referred as the bleeding phase. It is also referred as the bleeding phase. Uh, this phase is actually the phase where the uterine lining or the lining of the uterus, it falls off, leading to bleeding in women. Okay, so blood will flow off from the vagina, and this phase lasts from 3 to 5 days. Okay, then it is followed by the follicular or the proliferative phase. In this phase, basically what happens, I'll tell you, the follicles, the follicles, the primordial follicle, primary follicles, it starts developing in the ovary. So this phase is marked by the development of the follicles. That's why its name is follicular phase, and it lasts from 6 to 13 days, and approximately, if you say, it is in total 7 days. This is in total 5 days. Then it is followed by the ovulatory phase. Ovulatory phase is the ovulation Ovulation means the release of ovum from the Graafian follicle, from the mature follicle, right? And it happens on the 14th day of the cycle, which is followed by the luteal phase, in which we will see the formation of corpus luteum, which is responsible for the production of some hormones, progesterone and estrogen mainly, that are responsible for maintaining sorry, strengthening the uterine lining and maintaining the pregnancy. And it happens from 15th day to the 20th day. So if we count the total days, it will be 13 days, like 13 to 15 days. Yeah, 13 to 15 days. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about in the when section. So, as I already told you in the beginning, that there is a starting of the menstrual cycle and there is an ending of the menstrual cycle in female body. So, the starting of the menstrual cycle is called menarche. It is called menarche, which is defined as the beginning of the reproductive phase of a woman, and it is the occurrence of the first menstruation or the starting of the first menstrual cycle in the woman. So it is called menarche, and you can find you can in an in average the data tells that it starts from the age of 12 to 15 years of age. 12 to 15 years of age. So biologically, when a female gets menarche or the first or her first menstruation, she becomes what you say biologically fertile. So biologically adult, she becomes biologically adult. And as I already told you, that menstrual cycle, it doesn't last always. See, something has a beginning, so something will have a end as well. And the end of menstrual cycle is called as menopause, which is the uh, stop stopping of so the stoppage of menstruation in women, it is known as menopause, and it technically happens around the age of 45 to 50 years. 45 to 50 years of age, right? So menarche is the beginning of the reproductive phase of a female, and menopause is the end of the reproductive phase of a female. Okay, now moving on, we will discuss about the four different phases of the menstrual cycle.